Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. In today's video, I'm going to show you my top 10 favorite plant-based sources of protein. So I have been eating no meat for over 4.5 years now, and I'm not protein deficient. There are a lot of people out there that think it's super hard to get protein as a vegan. It's actually not hard at all, but it is definitely a lot easier if you are more well educated about what has protein in it, because you might not realize something like peanut butter actually has quite a lot of protein in it. So I'm going to show you my top 10 favorite sources of protein here, and then I'm also going to rank them in terms of the highest percentage of protein per 100 calories. And there's a lot of different ways you could rank it. You could rank it per 100 grams, per 100 calories. So it's kind of hard to know which way to measure the protein, because, you know, certain foods like tofu, you might eat 150 grams as one serve. But for example, something like hemp seeds, you might only have 1 tablespoon, which is a lot less than 100 grams. It's probably about 15 grams. So I am going to be measuring everything based on how many calories, because that is more indicative of how much you would really have of it. Personally, I think you can also do it by grams, and I will put those measurements in the description box below. I actually made a little Excel spreadsheet where I put together all of the different sources of protein I've mentioned in this video and their amount of protein per 100 grams, per serving, per 100 calories, and so on and so forth. So I'll link that in the description box below if you want to check it out. Basically, this video is really just showing you that there is such a wide variety of protein sources, and this is not an exhaustive list. Like, there are so many others, but these are just my top 10 favorites. So let's get straight into that. Alright guys, so here are my top 10 favorite sources of plant-based protein. I'm going to start at the lower end of the scale. So this is the lowest amount of protein per 100 calories, and then this is the highest amount of protein. We're going to start down at this end. So the lowest amount of protein per 100 grams of my top 10 is the quinoa. So this has approximately 3.6 grams of protein per 100 calories. However, you would usually have a bit more than 100 calories, probably more like 200 calories worth of quinoa when you have it. That's about 1 serve, so it's more like 7 grams worth of protein. So if you compare that to something like brown rice, white rice, it actually has significantly more protein than those. I think they would be around 4 grams per 200 calorie-ish serving. So this is about 7 grams. So I like to opt for quinoa instead of rice now and then, especially if I'm trying to get in a little bit more protein. For example, after a workout, I will opt for quinoa instead of rice, just because it has that slightly higher amount of protein. So on to the next source of protein, I have peanut butter. So some people don't realize, but peanut butter actually has the highest amount of protein of all the different nuts that you can have. So I like to opt for peanut butter in my oats in the morning. I mean, sometimes I do have almonds, which have slightly less protein in them, but I do like to go for peanuts when I can, because they do have more protein in them and it tastes delicious. I'm obsessed with peanut butter. It's so yummy. Obviously, if you're allergic, opt for something like almond butter, which just has slightly less protein in it. But this is definitely one of my top 10 favorite sources of protein. Super tasty, and it goes really well in sweet dishes. So a lot of these sources of protein are more savory, and you would eat them in lunch or dinner, whereas I have peanut butter or another type of nut butter pretty much every morning in my breakfast, and I love it. So this peanut butter has approximately 4.5 grams of protein per 100 calories, or about 6.1 grams per serve, because you usually have about a tablespoon worth, which is about 130 calories, which would have about 6.1 grams of protein if you were having a proper serve of it. So yeah, peanut butter is a really good source of protein. It's not super high in protein, but it's a great addition to your morning meals. If you are a sweet person like me who just loves having sweet breakfast, this is a great way to get a bit of extra protein in the morning. So on to this third one, we have hemp seeds. So hemp seeds are actually a great source of protein as well as omega-3s. So on a plant-based diet, you are not having as much omega-3s as, for example, someone who eats fish and eggs, because they have a lot more omega-3s in them. So it's good to supplement your omega-3s with something like hemp seeds or flax seeds or chia seeds. Personally, I love hemp seeds because I just think they have a really nice flavor to them, and they go really well in porridge or topping on salads. They also can go really well in baking, for example, in cookies. I use them in my protein cookies most of the time when I make them. I have a recipe for them. I'll link it up here if you want to check that out. It's such a good recipe. Highly recommend that one. But anyway, these hemp seeds have about 5.1 grams of protein per 100 calories, or 10.2 grams of protein per 30 gram serve. So to be honest, I wouldn't quite have 30 grams. I'd probably have more like 15 grams, which would be about a tablespoon. So it's more like 5.1 grams of protein for me when I have that, but that's actually a lot. If you think about 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds, you're getting 5 grams of protein in that. That is amazing, and it's just a little topper to add a bit of protein, and also those omega-3s you're getting in this one. So highly recommend buying some hemp seeds if you don't have them already. They're really easy to just add into things, and it's a great source of protein. So now onto one which I'm sure you guys have all eaten and had regularly, which are chickpeas. I personally love using chickpeas, obviously, to make hummus. I have got a hummus recipe if you want to check that out up here. It's a great little snack just to have with some crackers or some sliced vegetables. But I also use chickpeas in things like curries. I've actually used them to make protein bars before, as well as to make blondies. I think I have a recipe on my channel. I'll link it up here. Yeah, for raspberry and pistachio blondies that I used a can of chickpeas in. And you can also make things like sweet hummus. You can make cookie dough batter-esque type like protein balls with them. There's lots of things you can do with chickpeas, sweet and savory, so it's definitely a great staple to have in your cupboard because you can just grab it out, add it into whatever you're making, and yeah, highly recommend chickpeas. Chickpeas have about 7.1 grams of protein per 100 calories. So this can actually says that it has 9.6 grams of protein per serving, but their serving amount is about 120 grams, which is about 160 calories. So for an average serving, you're getting almost 10 grams of protein in with these chickpeas, which is a really good amount. So highly rate chickpeas, definitely great to have in your cupboard for those times when you just want to chuck something together quickly. So now we move on to lentils. Lentils are a great affordable way to get in a high amount of protein into your diet. So the other things that I'll get onto shortly, like fake meats or tofu and tempeh, can be a little bit pricier, whereas you can get lentils super cheap from bulk food stores or even just from the supermarket. So it's a really affordable way to get in your protein, and they're perfect for things like curries or making like a lentil shepherd's pie. I also have one of them up on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box below. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with lentils. You can also make it into a delicious salad, and there are lots of different types of lentils. So my favorite are black lentils, French lentils, and these are red lentils. But yeah, any type of lentils are really great. They're really affordable, and they have a heck of a lot of protein in them. So they have around 7.4 grams of protein per 100 calories, which again is really good. And you would usually have a bit more than that in a serve. So you'd probably have about 200 calories worth, which is more like 14 to 15 grams of protein. So it's a really good source of protein. It's also got fiber in it, and it's really, really healthy for you to have. So on to the next source of protein, I have edamame beans. So I like to buy these ones that are pre-shelled. I'll show you what they look like. So they look like this. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll give you a close-up. So these beans are frozen. However, they've already been de-shelled, so you don't need to go through the process of taking them out of the shells, and that's the part which is a bit lengthy, and that can cause you to not want to use them as often. So that's why I love buying these ones. They're pre-shelled and just in this cute little packet that you can store in the freezer. And I love to add these to all sorts of things. Recently I've been adding them to salads, making poke bowls with them. Sometimes I add them into curries, and it's a really great way to get some extra protein in. They also just taste really good on their own. You can just add a bit of soy sauce in there and have it as a snack. They're just so tasty. I really, really love them. If you haven't tried edamame beans already, I highly recommend trying them out because they are honestly really tasty and a great easy way to get your protein in. They have pretty low calories per amount of protein. So one serve is said to be about 50 grams, and that on its own has 6.3 grams of protein and around 50 to 60 calories. So it's really low in calories for the amount of protein you can get. So for 100 calories, you will be getting around 10 grams of protein in with just these edamame beans alone. So it's honestly such a great way to get your protein in. They're really tasty and you can add them to a range of different dishes. Again, mostly savory things. I wouldn't really use this in anything sweet, but it is perfect for, as I said, curries, for stir fries, for salads. It's just so versatile and so delicious. So this is a great staple that I always have in my freezer, and I highly recommend you do too. I just bought these from Woolworths, so if you want to check them out, just head on over there. So on to the next one. Here I have tempeh. So I have two different types of tempeh here. This is just a plain tempeh that I got from Woolworths, whereas this one is a flavored one. I got it from Coles. So I talked about this one in my Coles haul, and I talked about this one I think briefly in my Woolworths haul, so you can check out those videos if you want to. I'll link them below as well. But basically any type of tempeh is pretty healthy for you because it has a lot of protein in it, around 11.1 grams per 100 calories. And it's also a fermented food, which means it's really good for your gut health, which is just a big plus in my books. So I love tempeh and tofu, and if you don't know already, tempeh is basically like a less processed version of tofu. So if you look at the back of the packet of the tempeh, if you look closely, it's basically just soybeans, which are like edamame beans, that have been pressed together and fermented into a block. Whereas tofu, what they do to make tofu is they get soy milk, so milk made from soybeans, and then they press it and kind of curdle it like a cheese until it gets into a block, and then that's how they make that. So it has a longer process to it than the tempeh, but they have basically the same amount of protein per 100 calories. So in terms of protein, tempeh and tofu are pretty much the same. They're both amazing sources of protein, around 11.1 grams per 100 calories. However, I just like to switch it up because they have completely different flavors and textures. So for me personally, I just love switching it up. Sometimes I'll feel like tofu, sometimes I'll feel like tempeh. There's different ways to cook them, and they have been featured in quite a few of my videos already, so I'll link them down below. I'm thinking of doing a video where I specifically focus on tempeh and show you some really fun recipes that I love to make with tempeh, because I do feel like less people know about tempeh and less people know how to cook tempeh. So let me know in the comments down below if you would be interested in that video. So now I've done the tofu and tempeh, onto the next source of protein. So here I have a fake meat. You can get chicken fake meat, you can get duck, you can get all the different types of meat basically made in a plant-based way. And I particularly like ones that are made from pea protein instead of wheat gluten. So most of the fake meats out there, they're actually called seitan, and they are made from gluten derived from wheat. And they do taste really good and they mimic the flavor of meat quite well. However, I don't want to eat too much gluten. I'm not gluten sensitive really. However, I just don't think seitan is the healthiest product to be having in your daily diet. I definitely would eat it on occasion, but I just don't think it's the best food to have as part of my daily core diet. So I opt for something like this, which is made from pea protein. So the ingredients in this are water, pea protein, vegetable bouillon, and fermented dextrose. So it only has 4 ingredients, it's pretty minimal, and it has 19 grams of protein per serve, which is a lot of protein per serve. If you look at tofu and tempeh, which most people think is like the best source of protein, they only have around 11 grams, whereas this has 19 grams. So it does have significantly more protein per serve, which is really good, but obviously it is more processed. So that's kind of the trade-off with fake meats and tofu and tempeh. I definitely do opt more for tofu and tempeh because they are less processed than something like a fake meat. But if I do go for a fake meat, which I do occasionally, I'm definitely gonna eat this. I'm gonna have this tonight probably. So if I do go for a plant-based meat alternative, I look for something that has minimal ingredients, between 4 to kind of 5, 6 ingredients. I don't really like the ones that you can't understand what it is on the list. I try to steer clear of those because obviously they have more things in them that are processed, and that just makes it a bit less healthy for you. So this one only has 4 ingredients. There's another brand called Sunfed, which I really, really like, and that has yeah, around 4 to 5 ingredients in there. It's really clean, also made with pea protein. So that's what I opt for in terms of fake meats. They are a really good source of protein, especially if you're transitioning onto a vegan diet. They really help to fill out your meals and get that protein in a way that's recognizable and easy for you. And then finally, the last source of protein that I have every single day is protein powder. So obviously this one is at the end. This one has the highest amount of protein. It has about 17, I think, grams of protein per 100 calories, which is really good. Per serve, it has about 26 grams of protein. So I have this either in my oatmeal in the morning, or sometimes I'll make a smoothie with it if I'm feeling like a smoothie. But yeah, it's a great way to get your protein in. But again, it is a sweet option, so you can't really have it as a full meal unless you cook it into your food, like if you cook it into your oats, which I do almost every morning now. But it is more of a snack. It is more of a shake to have after a workout. But I did want to include it in here because, as you can see, it has the highest amount of protein per serve out of any of the vegan sources of protein, other than maybe seitan. Seitan is really high in protein, but I didn't really want to include seitan because personally I don't cook with it at home. So I wanted to show you my top 10 sources of protein that I eat on a daily to weekly basis. I have all of these. I didn't have to go out and buy anything for this video, except for this because I didn't have any stocked up, but I probably would have got it in the next week or so anyway. So these are all the sources of protein that I eat. I hope this video has helped you in some way. I definitely will leave some links below to recipes with these different sources of protein that I have on my channel, so check the description box below for that. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions about these sources of protein or about anything else regarding a plant-based diet. I would love to hear from you guys, and let me know what your favorite source of plant-based protein is in the comments down below. So I just quickly remembered that I wanted to show you a couple of other sources that was like honorable mentions. They didn't quite make it to my top 10 because they don't have the highest amount of protein, or they're not my favorites in particular, but they are a really good source of protein that I definitely have in my diet on occasion. So I wanted to mention that other types of beans, you know, there's not just chickpeas, there's all the different legumes have a lot of protein in them. So something like pinto beans has about 5 grams of protein per serve. Black beans has, again, about 5 to 6 grams of protein per serve, and also white beans or cannellini beans have quite a lot of protein per serve as well. So those are definitely great things that I do have in my diet and I love, but I just thought I'd mention chickpeas because they're probably the most versatile out of all these different beans. Then we go on to protein-enriched pasta and rice. So the rice I actually haven't tried yet. I literally just picked it up the other day from the supermarket, but it is a type of rice that they've made from lentil flour, pea flour, and sweet potato flour. So this is just another great source of protein. And then you can also buy things like this mung bean fettuccine. They have, you know, black bean fettuccine, edamame fettuccine, soybean fettuccine, and it's just a higher amount of protein. You can also get like red lentil pasta. There's a brand, San Remo, they do a pulse pasta, which I really enjoy. So stuff like that is another great way to get some protein in. It just increases the amount of protein in your meal. Especially the protein pastas have a lot of protein. I think this one has 42 grams of protein per serve. So actually this is more than any of the other foods I have mentioned. But this isn't like a typical like food that you would buy, I guess. This is more of a specialty item that they might not have at your store. So that's why I didn't really include this in my top 10. It also, I mean, it tastes good, but it doesn't taste the same as pasta. And if you are a pasta connoisseur, you're probably not gonna love this that much. However, I do have it occasionally when I just feel like pasta with like a plain sauce, you know? And if you're having a plain tomato sauce with pasta, that's just all carbs and it has like basically no protein in it. So then I would use something like this mung bean pasta because that adds in quite a lot of protein and I can just have my plain tomato pasta sauce. So then I also wanted to mention that oats do have some protein in them, so people don't really realize, but a serving of oats will have around about 5 grams of protein in it, and I have oats pretty much every day. So again, you know, if you have oats with a little bit of protein powder and a little bit of peanut butter, you're getting up to around 20 grams of protein for your breakfast, and that's what I have most mornings, and it's just a really great way to get a little bit of protein in the morning. And yeah, I just wanted to share those honourable mentions with you. Also, grains like rice or whole grain bread do also have protein in them. Again, not like a super high amount, but you'll be getting in at least about 5 grams per serve. So that is another honourable mention on my list. With all that said, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some inspiration for some different ways to get protein into your diet. You don't necessarily have to get a protein powder. You don't have to get all of these, but just finding out a couple new sources of protein I know can be really helpful for some people, especially if you are starting out being vegan or if you're leaning more towards being plant-based but you're unsure of where you're going to get your protein. I just want to show you that there are so many ways, and this is literally like just a few things. There are so many more things out there that you can check out. There's a lot of great ways to get protein in, so I hope this helped you in some way. If you're new here and you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button down below. It really supports my channel, and literally every single one of you who subscribes, like, it makes my day every time I see a new subscriber, and I'm really grateful. So thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in my next one. So with all that said, have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.